Insanity is often the logic of an accurate mind overtasked. Oliver Wendell Holmes, Sr. Fear, abuse, assault. Women experience these on a daily basis. Some at the hands of loved ones, some at the hands of strangers. Too many at the hands of the men they married. Men that are supposed to love and care for them. Nearly 3 in 10 women in the United States have experienced rape at the hands of a partner. It's far from a laughing matter, but that's what it became for our villain today. A broken woman who finally snapped and became vilified for her actions. Lorena Gallo was born on October 31, 1970, in Bucay, Ecuador. She and her 2 younger siblings grew up in Caracas, Venezuela. With a dental technician father, their upbringing was standard middle class. When Lorena turned 15, she was gifted a trip to the United States for her quinceañera. This vacation was like a dream come true for Lorena and would shape the course of her life. She loved the country and wanted nothing more than to move there one day. Her family tried to emigrate, but unfortunately failed. A temporary middle ground was met in 1987 when Lorena got her foot in the door with a student visa. To earn money, she worked as a nanny, and then later took a job as a manicurist at a nail salon. Lorena once dreamed of working in the dental field like her father, but it didn't seem to be in the cards for her. During a night out in 1988, Lorena would meet John Bobbitt. While visiting a club for enlisted men on Quantico Marine Base, she ran into the blue-eyed Marine. The pair hit it off immediately and quickly started dating. At 20 years old, and never having dated before, Lorena was a naive young woman. The relationship with John began with chaperone dates to the movies or to get ice cream. It was wholesome and innocent, and Lorena was happy. Lorena wanted her American dream. She wanted to get married and have a family. And who better to help her achieve her dream than John, a handsome man in a uniform who was loyal to the country she so admired. John and Lorena Bobbitt would marry on June 18, 1989. Unfortunately, her American dream would soon turn into a nightmare. According to Lorena, as said during her trial and in many subsequent interviews, John grew violent only a few weeks into their marriage. It began when she disapproved of his reckless driving while they were on their way home one night. He didn't like her attitude and hit her. She has said that the violence only continued after that night. John would beat Lorena and even sexually assault her on more than one occasion. The couple would often argue about money and John bringing guests to the apartment without notifying Lorena first. Throughout John and Lorena's relationship, the Prince William County Police were called no less than 6 times for domestic violence complaints. Only one of these calls resulted in charges. Retired Sergeant Kim Chin said John was arrested and charged with assault and battery. John, in turn, got a cross warrant against Lorena and had her charged with assault and battery as well. Nothing came of the charges, and no jail time was served. Lorena's charges were null-crossed, meaning there was either little evidence or the prosecution chose to be lenient, and John's charges were dismissed because he went through counseling. Lorena would inevitably find herself pregnant. John was not happy. According to Lorena, her husband forced her to get an abortion. Not only did he force her to go through a procedure that she did not wish to have, but he also taunted and harassed her about it. While they waited at the clinic, John would torment Lorena, telling her the procedure was going to kill her. It should be noted that while Lorena insisted John wanted to have the procedure done, his defense team would tell the court that it was a mutual decision. As Lorena wished to have a family, the claim doesn't make much sense. John would eventually leave the Marines in 1991 and would fail to secure other employment. This would leave the Bobbitts' sole income coming from Lorena's manicurist job. The couple had a mortgage to pay for the house they bought in 1990, but it was too much for just Lorena's income, and the pair soon fell into financial hardship. This would push Lorena into theft, both from her employer and other businesses. She stole dresses in an effort to improve her appearance for her husband. She wanted to look good for him to keep him from cheating. John purportedly enjoyed flaunting his infidelities. In October 1991, Lorena and John would separate. Sadly, like too many incompatible, toxic couples, the pair would get back together a year later. In April 1993, they would move into a new apartment. Less than 3 months later, on June 21st, Lorena would begin the process of filing for a protection order from her husband. To this day, John Bobbitt maintains that he was never abusive during his marriage to Lorena. He claims she was a very jealous woman and would hit him. If he had hit her, it was only in self-defense. John said that Lorena was upset he planned to divorce her, as a divorce would put her green card at risk, as well as her future citizenship. Lorena would deny that her marriage to John had anything to do with her desire to be in the United States. On June 23, 1993, just 2 days after starting the process for her protection order, John would come home drunk and belligerent. Lorena wanted nothing to do with him, but he wouldn't take no for an answer. John grabbed Lorena, dragged her into the bedroom, threw her on the bed, and sexually assaulted her. After the attack, John went to sleep and Lorena went to the kitchen. She saw a knife sitting on the counter and something in her broke. Lorena grabbed the knife and returned to the bedroom. She would climb on top of her sleeping husband and use the 8-inch Ginsu carving knife to cut off John's penis. With the knife and severed organ in hand, Lorena would flee the apartment. Panicking, she would toss the appendage into a field on her way to a friend's house. The friend would eventually convince Lorena to call the police and turn herself in. Luckily for John, she did. When confessing, she gave them the location where she disposed of the appendage. Police found it in the field near a 7-Eleven convenience store, wrapped it in a hot dog bag, put it on ice, and transported it to Prince William Hospital. John, who was bleeding profusely from his injury, had a friend drive him to the hospital. A team of surgeons managed to successfully reattach the organ after a 9.5-hour operation. Though Lorena was arrested the same day as the incident, she also received a full rape kit exam at Prince William Hospital. When the news broke of Lorena's crime, there was an immediate media uproar. Women's rights activists hoped the case would lead to more awareness of domestic violence. It seemed to have the opposite effect, however, as Lorena became a tabloid sensation and a laughingstock that comedians milked dry. Though the public at large thought this unique crime was as hilarious as it was morbid, the trials that went ahead in the following months were anything but. In November 1993, a jury would hear the case of John Bobbitt. John was charged with marital sexual assault. Due to a Virginian law that stated a couple must live separately or there must be serious physical injury sustained, he could not be charged with marital rape. During his trial, John changed his story multiple times. Lorena initiated sex. He was asleep. He couldn't remember what happened. His answers kept changing, and as he was cross-examined, those answers conflicted with known facts. Despite this, John was acquitted by a jury of 9 women and 3 men. Lorena Bobbitt's fully televised trial began in January 1994. She was charged with malicious wounding, which could carry a 20-year sentence as well as deportation. Lorena's defense team argued she was not in her right mind when she attacked her husband. She had suffered mental, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse at his hands for years. Lorena was in constant fear of John and dealt with clinical depression. When she attacked her husband, it was during a possible bout of post-traumatic stress disorder. As previously stated, John testified that he never abused his wife, but witness statements corroborated with Lorena. They had seen John hitting and shoving Lorena, and made note of her bruises. Under oath, John's friends stated they heard him express a fondness for forced sex, which Lorena stated during police interviews. One witness testified that Lorena was immobilized by John threatening her, having said, "I will find you whether we're divorced or separated, and whenever I find you, I'll have sex with you whenever I want to." After closing arguments, the jury went to deliberate. It took them 7 hours to find Lorena not guilty by reason of insanity. As a result, she could not be held liable for her actions. The judge ordered Lorena to undergo a 45-day evaluation at Central State Hospital in Petersburg. She completed the evaluation and was released from the hospital. John and Lorena finalized their divorce in 1995, and Lorena returned to her maiden name. Following the incident, John had plenty of debt and legal fees to pay. He decided to capitalize on his 15 minutes of fame and started a band called The Severed Parts. The band was ultimately a failure, so John then chose to show off how successful his reattachment surgery was by starring in a few adult films, one of which won an Adult Video News Award. John has had a number of other media appearances and associations, and a number of other arrests and charges since his split with Lorena. His charges included battery, theft, and parole violation. He also has 2 more divorces to his name. Lorena Gallo has chosen to live a much quieter life after her rise to infamy. She went on to form the Lorena Gallo Foundation. Some sources call it the Red Wagon Organization, where she helps survivors of domestic abuse and their children. She has participated in numerous interviews to tell her story and spread awareness for her foundation. Lorena is in a long-term relationship with David Bellinger and has joked that she sometimes calls him her husband, though they aren't married and she has no intention of ever marrying again. The pair have a daughter together. Lorena has certainly left her mark on pop culture, including the name Bobbitt being turned into a verb meaning to cut off the penis of a man, especially a husband or lover, typically as an act of revenge or perceived sexual grievances. The vilification of this woman will rarely be retold as someone at the end of their rope defending themselves. Unfortunately, her case will forever be a joke, a gag about how women are crazy. Rarely will this villain be remembered for what she truly was, a victim who had enough. As always, we here at Villains with Vaughn wish you well and hope that you stay safe, happy, and healthy. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notified every other Wednesday when we post a brand new villain. And if you have a villain suggestion that you would like us to share and talk about to the whole world, let us know in our email, which you can find on our homepage or in the description below.